Welcome to Something to Say, where we bring voices from diverse backgrounds who will share their unique stories and perspectives on finding their passion and provide insights on how you can find yours. Join us as host Greg DeShields guides us through this enlightening journey.
Welcome to a special episode of Something to Say podcast, a unique platform that amplifies the voices of individuals from various backgrounds sharing their passions. I'm your host, Greg DeShields, and I'm pleased to bring you another bonus episode of Something to Say. Thank you for joining us today, and we welcome Rachel Covello, an LGBTQ plus content creator and travel blogger, and probably one of the nicest people that I know. Rachel is an influential figure in the LGBTQ plus community and has passion for building bridges across divides with empathy. She has extensive experience in sales, marketing, nonprofit leadership, PR, event planning, and all things creative. As the publisher of Outcoast.com, she is a skilled LGBTQ content creator and travel blogger. Her work focuses on highlighting inclusive destination and businesses from coast to coast. Rachel also plays a pivotal role in the LGBTQ plus tourism marketing and diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting, advising businesses and leaders across various industries. She was instrumental in organizing Florida's first LGBTQ plus tourism convention, the Florida Outcoast Convention, fondly known as FLOCC. And we'll talk more about that today as well. Fostering inclusive tourism strategies in the Sunshine State. Her contributions have been widely recognized, earning her accolades such as the 2024 Business of Pride Corporate Honoree for the Tampa Bay Business Journal, the 2024 Business Grand Marshal for Tampa Pride, the 2023 Most Remarkable Person of the Year by Watermark Publishing, congrats, and the 2021 Business of Pride Honoree by the Tampa Bay Business Journal. Outside of her professional realm, Rachel resides in St. Pete with her wife and 3 dogs, enjoying RV travel, and is actively involved in stand-up comedy and photography. We really need to talk more about that whole stand-up comedy thing. So, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us on Something to Say. So for the record, we have 25 minutes, and that is without any doubt not enough time for us to interview you and talk about the things that we'd love to cover. But we're really going to stick to the script, and I really want to thank you for your valuable contribution, the time that you are making available to us, and what you do each day for the LGBTQ plus community.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
So we know that you are without any doubt an incredible force in the tourism industry, and well, without any doubt, I think also we'd say in the LGBTQ plus community. And there are a variety of different initiatives that you are involved with. But what about you? And I thought what we would do is spend some time with a few get to know you questions, typically what we use here on Something to Say, to share with our audiences a little bit more about you as an individual. So we want to make sure we give them a great perspective of you. So if you're comfortable, I'll start with about 3 icebreaker questions, and then from there, we'll start to dive a little bit deeper. So are you ready?
I have no choice. Let's do it.
All right, so here's your first question. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would that be and why?
There's so many, but I would probably say Walt Disney. I first of all, my background is animation. I have a degree in animation. I love all things creative. So to get behind the brain of somebody who created, I think, one of the most iconic marketing brands of our time, and was so involved with animation and anything creative, I think it would be fascinating to talk to him.
Well, that is such an incredibly appropriate Florida response. So thank
I
you
know
for
it is.
All right, so here's another get to know you question. Do you love your future or your past more?
You're just full of difficult questions, Greg. I think I would say that I love the lessons of the past, but I think I love even more the opportunities of the future. So I think I'd lean towards the future me, but having learned lots of lessons from the past.
Well, all right, I know that was a really heavy question. Let's lighten it up a little bit. So, what's the silliest fear you have that you're willing to really admit to?
I'm afraid of crickets.
Really?
I don't like anything that jumps. I think it's the control person. I don't like
Oh,
unpredictability like that. Like I don't know where they're going to jump next. Frogs, anything that jumps.
wow. You know, it's funny you say that. I had a dream last night and I had these jumping goldfish. I have no idea where jumping goldfish would come from, but it was really strange. All right, so those are great icebreaker, but we really want to learn a little bit more about you and your story. But let's go a little bit deeper and see what kind of responses we get from you on these questions. So, what is the thing that makes you most nervous today?
I think going to that answer of unpredictability, I think it's really right now the unpredictability about our future of our country and the inability, it seems, for people to have conversations across their differences. I think that makes me very nervous. And hoping one day I see a day that we don't have to be nervous about that anymore.
Well, well, I'm sure you're not alone in that boat. So, great response, and certainly is appropriate for where we are today. All right, second question. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
I have on my bucket list to go to Spain. I have not really gotten to travel too many places across cultures. It's also one of the places that I actually know a little Spanish, so I feel like I could actually get along and get food if I needed to. So, but
You're
I've heard
like
it's a
me.
beautiful country.
You're like me. I know just enough to be dangerous, and then after that, I
Yeah,
don't know where I
yeah.
would go from there. So this is really an important question. We've asked a number of leaders because we hear this phrase used quite often. So how big is your inner circle?
It's getting smaller by the day. I think when I was younger, I really wanted to have this large circle of friends, and I felt like this need to know everybody.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people, and I think that circle is very big, but I think that inner circle tends to get smaller because I have those people that I can just let down my guard with, and I really like to. I'm selective about those people that are in my life, but my circle and my connections are wider and wider by the day as my inner circle gets a little smaller.
Well, definitely. It seems as you mature, that understanding of what an inner circle really is gets full clarity. Walking along that line, what legacy do you hope to leave behind? You do such incredible work. You are making such incredible strides. But what legacy do you hope to leave behind?
I'd like to think that I have been, at the end of my life, that that I've connected people across differences, across ideas to create a better future. I mean, I know everyone says the cliche, I want to create a better future, but I really want to create those connections so that we can have that better future for everybody and better communication for everybody.
Well, I've seen you in action, and I think your legacy, without any doubt, is getting clearer and clearer and built even that much more. And big shout out and congrats to you because not everybody has the same sort of strength and fortitude that you have. So thank you for what you do. And yes, you've got a great legacy that's in the making. All right, so one more question, and then we'll get real technical and talk industry stuff. This one is a real thinker. It's funny. We've asked a couple of people, and they usually scratch their head, and then they're like, I think I get it. So let me read this quite carefully. Tell us something that you think is true that almost nobody agrees with you on.
I mean, something simple, like I actually think bread tastes better without butter. I mean, is that a good, I mean, I don't know where we were going with this question.
It's an interesting question because for many people, there are some things that are true clarity to them, but
Hmm.
that no one seems to agree with them on, and they have a very strong connection to it in terms of how they view life or how they view certain circumstances.
I think for me, a lot of it right now, and it kind of goes back to everything I've been talking to about bridging divides, and there's so much hate right now in our country and a lot of polarization in our country. And there are many people, especially even within my own community, my LGBTQ space, that really just put a wall up on certain people that have different ideas or different political beliefs. And I really am one of those believers that we all have a reason why we act and we vote and we do certain things. And we really need to step back to understand people before we pass judgment. So, and not everyone will agree with me on that right now, especially
Mhm.
when it comes
Mhm.
to, people think if you vote a certain way, then you have certain beliefs. And I don't necessarily agree with that all the time.
Well, I think you nailed it. It's interesting. I recently served with our Board of Elections and spent 15 hours at a polling booth paired with a opposite party at my table. And it was interesting how much we had in common after we were there for 15 hours. Wouldn't necessarily think that that would be the case, but I agree with you. I think you responded appropriately to that question, and I thank you for that. But let's talk about the tourism industry because I know that's so much a part of all the work that you do. So, three questions that are really surrounding that. So, what are the most significant trends and development that you are seeing now taking place within the tourism industry?
I think a big one now, I've been in the LGBTQ space for quite some time, and obviously that's a big trend to create more inclusive tourism experiences. But I think right now what's trending even more is accessibility, making sure that destinations and hotels and flights are all welcoming more to people who have accessibility needs, both visible and invisible disabilities. I think that's a big trend. I think the concept, if you're watching Sophia from Destinations International, I think the concept of social inclusion and moving more towards that terminology, and maybe a little way away from DEI specifically,
Mhm.
as well as bee tourism. I think eco-friendly tourism, being just more aware of a lot of these topics are important in our tourism industry.
Well, great insight. Let me just follow up with that. Can you discuss some of the common misconceptions that you'd like to clear up as it relates to tourism in the industry?
Yeah, obviously I think from my own little funneling away of the focus topic that I do, but I think, this past couple of years has been very difficult in tourism from the boycotts that have been passing, or not the boycotts, but the advisories, travel advisories. I'm going to be careful of the terms I use. But travel advisories have been a big topic in tourism. And I think it's really important for people to understand that although there might be this idea that, oh, let's boycott a destination or let's advise against traveling to a destination, oftentimes that means you're hurting the destinations that are the most inclusive.
Mm.
If groups are going to Florida or whatever southern state that people are advising against, most of the times those inclusive groups are looking at destinations that are already welcoming and inclusive, like a Fort Lauderdale or a St. Pete, Clearwater, or Tampa. And
Mhm.
so all of a sudden, if those groups stop going there, it hurts those destinations that are already doing the right thing and the businesses in those communities that need the support the most. So I think that's one of the things we really need to be more aware of, that advisories and boycotts are not always smart for the community that you're trying to support.
Right. And I think that's such an important part for you to continue to communicate that message because I think it does get lost. And
Mhm.
someone who is really boots on ground like you can help put that into perspective for people to appreciate it because we know you do a lot for the business communities that you are involved in those inclusive destinations within that particular state. All right, one last question, and we can't get away from it because it's with us every day. So, can you highlight any specific innovation or breakthrough technology that you're finding particularly interesting? And I guess that may also be camouflaged as any connection to artificial intelligence.
I figured I was gonna have the same answer as everybody else right now. AI obviously is just fascinating to watch. Fascinating, but also scary at the same time. I think AI is a tool that we obviously use a lot now in content creation. I can even plan I was in Lauderdale last week, and I literally went to ChatGPT and said, give me a 3-day itinerary that includes these types of activities. And it spewed out an itinerary. So just a note to travel planners and advisors might be a great tool to start implementing more of to stay relevant. But I think there's so much AI technology out there that's amazing, but we also have to be very aware of the biases in AI and make sure that we're educated beyond the technology so that the messages we send with these tools are really authentic to the audience you're trying to reach.
Wow. Well, Rachel, as I thought, you've given us some great insight about yourself, your history, and of course, the tourism industry. But you've got a convention that's coming up, and I have to give a big shout out to you because you look so calm and you're just a few weeks away from it. But let's talk about the Florida Outcoast Convention 2024, and I will be there, by the way. Give us an overview of the Outcoast.
So Outcoast, before we dive into convention, Outcoast is a brand that was created as a content platform. We have a blog, we have a video blog, mostly travel blog, travel content. We do some fashion content too now that really highlights inclusive destinations and businesses. We used to be just Florida. We've recently expanded our content to beyond Florida, but really trying to work with companies that want to put their brands and their destinations and businesses in front of our LGBTQ consumers. So Outcoast is like the consumer facing side. That's what Outcoast is itself. FLOCC, the Florida Outcoast Convention, is the convention side of that. So it's really more the B2B side of what we do. And the Florida Outcoast Convention is really designed as a place where tourism leaders, LGBTQ organization leaders can get all together in one destination or in one meeting space to learn from one another, learn topics that we are going to be talking about at the convention, from how to create more inclusive spaces to, how do we make sure that transgender travelers are welcome, lots of different topics, but we might get more into that with you. But it's really, FLOCC is really designed as that industry meeting space to have conversations to better support LGBTQ travelers and to support the businesses who want to welcome them, but might not know how to do that in the right way, in the most authentic way.
Great. So I am so excited to learn more about your conference. I've been to it in the past, and it is an absolutely fantastic experience. But so let's hit some of the basics for people so that they know. So it's going to be held at...
It's going to be in the Miami area, specifically the Coral Gables Lowe's, which is a brand new property. It's gorgeous. We really wanted to impress attendees a lot this year. So it'll be in that area. It's from August 12th to 14th, 2024. It's right in the heart of Coral Gables. Lots of things around that area too.
And what's the cost?
So the cost is $8.99 for the full convention. We do want to also make sure we're welcoming our LGBTQ nonprofit organizations and small businesses. So I do like to be full disclosure. If there is a barrier to coming to the convention, please reach out to us directly because we want to make sure that all of the voices that need to be in that space are in that space. It's $8.99 for regular registration. That includes a flamboyance gala. We call it flamboyance. It's a group of flamingos, but it also sounds super fun and very LGBTQ oriented. So that's our opening night award ceremony and celebration. We want to amplify the good in this state because I think there's so much focus on the negative sometimes. And then the next day and a half, that Tuesday and Wednesday, will be all about the conversations and the trainings, and we'll dive more into that as well.
And what do you think is the real wow? Like, if you are there, you don't want to miss this.
So I think that the big takeaway that we had last year that I think people really valued was the ability to be who they were in that space, to ask the questions that are often difficult right now. A lot of our statewide tourism conventions are avoiding these conversations altogether. So when we talk about destinations that are having groups cancel, or maybe they're not sure, a hotel might not be sure how to effectively and properly welcome or market to the LGBTQ community, this is the space where you can ask anything you want without judgment, without being ignored. It's a space for everyone to have real conversations. And I think that's really important right now. And that was probably the biggest takeaway when people left. They said, I feel like I was just with a group of my friends and family where I could be myself and ask anything I wanted to. And that's really the environment and the excitement we want to create. But some of the topics we're having at the convention are also extremely exciting, and that schedule is being loaded to our website as we speak.
Well, I would do a big shout out in terms of how you actually coordinate a very sophisticated way of engaging in very sensitive subject matters in a very productive way, one that really doesn't push anybody in any particular direction, but in fact will leave from the room with a great deal of insight. So I would highly encourage individuals to go to get the kind of insight that perhaps they wouldn't normally hear in general conversations. I also wanted to ask you, is there a possibility or is there a vehicle for attendees to engage with LGBTQ businesses? Do you direct them during the course of the conference?
So throughout the conference, we do have a marketplace that we'll have set up that'll have different LGBTQ organizations or business entities or even media partners that they can partner with to get their brand out there further. We also always provide resources as well, both during and at the end of the conference for anyone who wants to engage more. And then, of course, the speakers and the panelists and the moderators that we have on the topics across the spectrum at this convention are all great resources to lean on. We're going to be talking a lot about how do you gain the buy-in of stakeholders for inclusive tourism, how do you reach the sports and group market in the LGBTQ tourism space. We've got conversations about how to create ripple effects in your own industry, even if you're just starting in this space. So there's a ton of topics we're covering. And then, of course, Gen Z is a big topic right now. So Gen Z conversations on the reality is 20 to 25% of the Gen Z population identifies within this community. So lots of resources will be at the convention for all of these topics that are important.
So I want to do a big shout out. I can't remember the name of the vendor, but he was doing a T-shirt that was logoed FLOCC.
Yes.
And when I went over to his booth, he said, "This is going to be your most comfortable T-shirt when you buy it and a year from now." It is my favorite T-shirt that I wear when I lounge around the house.
They're amazing. So that's Augie with Comply. I'll give him a shout out. Augie, he will not physically be there this year. His business is taking off himself. He does a lot in the LGBTQ space. But we do have, our hats are really famous. I have one. Let me see if it'll show up on the screen. But our hats are really famous.
Cool.
So we actually will have those there and we'll have shirts there, but they are very comfortable shirts. I will agree.
Fantastic. Well, definitely a marketplace. If you are attending it, please go to the marketplace. All right, so just one other question, and then because we are something to say, we want to hear what you have to say. So who should really attend? You know, as you look through, and we are certainly sending out information for individuals to attend, who do you really want to be there, and what can they really anticipate when they get there?
So the key people we want in that room, any tourism leader. So we talk about destination marketing organizations. If you're a marketing person, a salesperson, or just need to know more about this community as it relates to tourism, be there. It's great for C-level, but it's also great for people at any level within that industry. Hotel representatives, again, sales, marketing, anyone in between, even the housekeeping leadership on how to create more inclusive spaces for guests. Those topics are all important at our convention. Attractions, boutique hotels, LGBTQ events, organizers, nonprofit organizations that do pride events, anything that touches tourism in Florida or even beyond. Those in the southern states may have some of the same challenges or questions that people in Florida have. We encourage you to come and learn and be a part of this conversation.
Wow. Well, I wish you all the best. I look forward to having an opportunity to see it unfold in front of my eyes. The Florida Outcoast Convention 2024. You must be there. So as I indicated, and as we draw our interview to a wrap, we are known as Something to Say. And to that degree, we close each one of our podcasts asking those who are being interviewed, what do you have to say? So Rachel, we turn the microphone to you. What do you have to say?
My wife would say I have to say a lot, but we'll keep it short here. I would say listen with the intention of understanding so that we can all come together and really create a better future for everyone, especially the next generation.
Wow. Rachel, thank you so much for sharing your passion, your insight, all the information about your upcoming convention. Your words will truly be quite informative, and we hope and motivate individuals to purchase their registration. So thank you so much for being with us today.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
So that's a wrap for this episode of Something to Say. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations with voices of individuals from diverse backgrounds sharing your passion. So until next time, this has been Greg DeShields signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Something to Say. We trust you found some valuable insights and takeaways that can help you find your passion. Don't miss out on future episodes. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on your preferred platform. We value your feedback and suggestions, so let us know how we can serve you better. Keep the conversation going and stay inspired until we meet again. Take care and happy listening.